Tower, the view or vision of the true condition of the individual and of all phenomena. The first aspect of the path is the tower, the view or vision of the true condition of the individual and of all phenomena. The reason the tower is sometimes referred to as the vision of the true condition rather than as the view is because in Dzogchen the term tower does not refer to a philosophical or intellectual point of view. When people speak of a view, they often mean a philosophical position held by a person or school. The Madhyamika philosophy, for example, is often spoken of as being the viewpoint or view of Nagarjuna. But in Dzogchen, rather than the view, meaning that we just study, absorb and subscribe to a theoretical philosophical viewpoint, what is necessary is that we observe ourselves so that we can really discover for ourselves what our true condition is. The direct, non-dual, non-conceptual knowledge of this true condition, our absolute nature, fundamentally pure from the beginning and completely free from all condition, never lost or stained, even though it is veiled in the dualistic experience of samsara, is true tower or vision of Dzogchen. And when this vision becomes stable for us, we overcome the limitations that create and sustain the cage of our limited sense of self or ego. But if we are caught up in dualism, the first thing we need to do is to discover exactly how we are so thoroughly conditioned and how our limitations confine us in the cage of dualism. So the tower of Dzogchen also implies, at the relative level, that we observe ourselves thoroughly at the levels of our body, voice and mind and confront all our problems, and this may be neither easy nor pleasant. There are many practical problems relating to our work, our living conditions, getting enough to eat, our health, and so on. These could be called the problems of the body. Then there are problems of the voice or energy, nervousness, neuroses, psychosomatic problems, and various other types of disturbances. And even if we are physically fit and materially well off, there are still the problems of the mind. These mental problems are so many and can be so subtle and hard to see. There are all kinds of games that we play in order to maintain, impose, and boost our egos. We play these games imagining that through them we will somehow improve our situation. But, in fact, all we succeed in accomplishing is building a cage and locking ourselves inside it. And once we are in the cage, the problem then becomes that we deceive ourselves into no longer even being able to see that it is there. So, the first step towards getting out of this self-created cage is that we must become aware that it is there, and this can only be done by observing ourselves all the time. This is another reason why the mirror or melong is such an important symbol in Dzogchen. Besides representing the true condition of the base and the inseparability of the two truths, relative and absolute, the mirror also serves as a reminder to observe one's own condition at all times. There is a Tibetan proverb which runs like this: on someone else's nose, one won't fail to notice the presence of even something as small as an ant, but on one's own nose, one won't even see something as big as a yak. That may indeed be the way in which we human beings often tend to behave, but it's not the right outlook according to the Tower of Dzogchen. According to the Tower of Dzogchen, one should not look outwards and criticize others. One should observe oneself, and by observing oneself, one becomes aware of one's cage. But it's not enough just to know that the cage is there. One must sincerely want to break out of it, and then actually begin working to that end. The way to break out of the cage according to the Dzogchen teachings is to establish the tower of vision of the true condition of the individual and of all phenomena, which dissolves all illusory limits, and this process can be explained in terms of Garab Dorje's 3 principles. Access to the tower is gained through receiving the direct introduction to the primordial state or base from the master, and it is through repeatedly returning to the tower that the practitioner is enabled to not remain in doubt about the true nature of all experiences, and then he or she endeavours to dwell uninterruptedly in the vision or tower itself, which means continuing in the primordial state. But whenever one does not find oneself in the primordial state, one should constantly observe oneself without distraction, governing one's behaviour with the kind of relative self-observing awareness that recognises the consequences of one's actions. And one should maintain this awareness for as long as the absolute spontaneous non-dual awareness of the primordial state, that is one's true condition, is not present. Although we have just considered the tower in terms of all 3 of Garab Dorje's principles, it might be more usual to regard the first 2 principles as referring to the tower, while the 3rd principle refers more specifically to the Gompa and the Chöpa, which will be explained in the next 2 sections of this book. As we shall see, the Gompa could be defined as remaining in the tower, while the Chöpa could be defined as behaviour arising from the Gompa.